It would have led to cheaper airfares for the rest of us, experts believe. So should the government's decision in blocking Qatar Airways for extra flights down the East Coast be investigated?
You know, I sat through so many questions about that in the Parliament, but the Prime Minister just sidesteps and laughs off questions on this, as he did with genuine questions from us and others at the time, Kenny. And the hapless Transport Minister was sent out time and time again to obfuscate in her answers. It was clear that no one was being straight with the Australian people, and I'm pretty annoyed about that, because you're quite right. Fares were higher than they needed to be, and a Prime Minister wasn't being upfront and honest with what had happened regarding access to Australia by Qatar Airways. And now we see in Joe Aston's book that there were actual conversations, a long-term relationship, and flight upgrades were solicited. Now, the Prime Minister's blaming a journalist. Journalists are just doing their job. Can I say that after Newcastle, the Prime Minister flew to Albury-Wodonga, my hometown, where he announced something, and then refused to take questions from journalists, actually walked away from local regional journalists with genuine questions about our health and hospital system and genuine questions about regional Australia. How dismissive and arrogant can you get?
So, do you agree with Peter Dutton that Anthony Albanese should be referred to the Integrity Commission and has breached Labor's ministerial code of conduct?
He should refer himself. Yesterday he said, "I've done nothing wrong," several times, and seemed very affronted that people were questioning him. I mean, you actually do get questions as Prime Minister, and you do have to answer them. So if he wants to demonstrate that he's done nothing wrong, then that's exactly what he should do. He should refer himself to the NAC.
Do Coalition MPs have anything to worry about in terms of flight upgrades?
No, they don't. And as a Transport Minister responsible for the regulatory controls of Australia's main airline, Qantas, the position that Anthony Albanese was in, to then solicit flight upgrades, that is, it's bewildering. It's completely out of order. It questions everything that goes to the heart of the character of this Prime Minister. What planet was he on to think that that was okay? And then now, when he's called out about it, not to be upfront. So he does have questions to answer. And let's see if he answers them today. As I said, he was running away from journalists in my hometown yesterday. He needs to turn around and he needs to front a full press pack and actually answer their questions honestly. As you know, Kenny, journalists are just doing their job.
OK. What's your reaction to the COVID inquiry, which said that the slow rollout of vaccines delivered a $31 billion hit to the economy, and now vaccine rates have plummeted across the board?
I thought it was very disrespectful of Jim Chalmers to effectively find some other way of pointing the finger at the government that I was part of that responded to this extraordinary set of circumstances. And the inquiry was necessary. It wasn't as wide-ranging as it should have been, because state premiers should have been able to, should have been asked to give further evidence of what went on in every single state. We'll go through what the inquiry tells us, but it demonstrates the pain that so many Australians felt. And I just didn't feel that Jim Chalmers was respectful of that pain, that hurt and that distress. I lived on the border. There were 34 border crossings that were closed. People who were trying desperately to get to their family members on the other side, were turned away by the police, who were, of course, only doing their job. And it was a horrible, awful time, and many people, particularly young people, have not recovered. So I don't think that this is being given the respect it deserves. And of course, it came out yesterday, I think at 2 p.m, Kenny, where was the Prime Minister running away once again from journalists asking questions? Why wasn't he answering questions about the COVID inquiry, what it found and what his government might do in response? Many of the COVID deaths, in fact, I think the majority actually occurred after the Labor Party took government.